the volume.
Okay, well, because we are now live, or is it live? It says we're live. So, Jenny, you can turn your mic on.
Okay.
You're there. You go.
Yeah.
Good, 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 good. So,
Oh
hello,
no,
everybody. We are live, and so good. And I hear myself coming in. So, turn that off.
I've turned it off. I've turned it off.
So welcome everybody, Bosto and favor to you all. We give you everyone the big bear hug. And I saw a video, Jenny, of a guy, a Chinese scientist who actually had a panda cub. And person said, this is what we see now. So it's going around the world. People are seeing that this virtual hug is not just a thing, but it
No.
has real healing power to it.
It's a
So
magical, whether it's etherical sent through a topa, a bear, an energy, a focus point. It's a magical embrace. I teach people,
did you see
I
that
know.
orb that just passed you?
Yeah, I've got them flying around at the minute. They're always
Yeah.
around, but at the minute they're live. It's lit here at the
Yeah,
moment.
I caught that. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
just
high
a little
five, y'all.
bit. Hey, I've already said hey and welcome to them all.
Come on, we got the spirit, we got the orbs, so
Party.
well,
Yeah,
everyone
the
I
hug
gather
is a
you.
transmutational thing. You transmute the energy out of somebody or into somebody when you hug them.
Yes.
You can drain pain through a hug. It's a womb, you embrace and you create the womb walls, and they make that person feel safe to feel whatever they're feeling. And so it's a powerful thing that needs to continue going around and around and around.
It needs it. We need it. My earliest memories of being out of my body, I was living, my grandparents had just moved to Santa Clara. I was 4 years old, going on 5. And I used to sit in the den and I would be in this reality where it was this most beautiful kind of teal turquoise blue, and it was a womb. And that's where I found myself. I saw myself even as as a fetus. And so, yeah, it
You know what
works.
you're feeling right there with that blue. I've got to get into this blue video than I need to do, but more keeps coming, so I keep waiting and taking more notes as I
You and
do.
Trina.
Oh yeah, I've got piles over there, and so the blue is intriguing to me as a light, because for there's good and bad in this realm. There's good and bad in even colors. Too much UV light, and
Hmm.
it hurts just enough, and it kills virus. And they're starting to sell things for that, but it's powerful. But the UV blue is very there's a coming into knowledge of the blue, I feel, and Tesla keeps coming through to me as that was the true representation of what he would say the free energy around us all of the time. Because blue, it said that blue eyes aren't really blue. It's something to do with the reflection of the white, and I've put it in the video that I've got to do, and it does something just like the sea isn't really blue or the sky. It's the same process. So
Yes.
even in blue eyes. So I find it, so I keep getting deeper, as you can see, into this blue rabbit hole, but it's led me to Tesla when I was meditating, and I kept hearing it represents the invisible. The blue is the invisible. It's one of those colors that wasn't even introduced into the color charts until late on. And instinctively through religion, as there's some truths, lots of truths in it, the blue Mary robe came when crystals finally came over and they learned how to use the blue crystals to powder up for the blue. So it was kept for higher up goddess-like energies, so to speak, to represent more higher in the hierarchy, etherical energies, gods, goddess type energies, God, Mary.
Whoever.
Whoever. But there was a knowing there that it was something to do with this invisible power. Yeah, because when the blue came, Mary was invisible to the people who were worshipping her, and so was Jesus, and whatever else was invisible to them. So there's this correlation between the invisible and the obscurity and not quite catchable of blue as to how all of this works. And some of the things about how the blue eye thing works and the sea and the sky not being a real reflection of blue, it goes real deep into the science of it. But I do feel this information that they already have is that blue is, and I think this is where we're going to start seeing more blue beams as more of this technology that we've already got keeps coming out, because the blue beams are going to be created in a way, I feel, as the eyes are created as blue in our spectrum, in our vision, as when they charge up and they're using that free energy around them, the ether, it has a reaction to turn it blue or show itself as blue. So that's, sorry to go off track.
No, I love that, because
rabbit hole recently.
It's not a rabbit hole, it's actually a tunnel, and
yeah,
it's just like the Hindu. The Hindu gods were blue. They were blue beings.
Blue beings, yeah.
Yeah.
And even like Odin, the story of Loki, he was seen as a blue baby found dying, so he was blue. The blue blood royals, it's it's reserved for.
It is. Stan Lee, he passed on, but his Marvel comics, what a creative mind he had. But he saw that as well, and many say that the grays are actually genetically stepped down from what the gods really are, and they are blue beings. So who knows? I always saw blue as being born out of red and coming forth through the brilliancy of yellow, boom.
And that works, yeah. That's where there's the combination of those primary colors.
Yeah.
But it has to be, it comes out of a combination.
It does.
So it's a reactionary thing, just like I see these blue beams that we're going to start seeing a lot more. I just saw them in the sky, in the mind's eye, a lot more.
I'm seeing the orbs there, folks. Are y'all seeing it too? It's amazing. They're all around. Just say hello to all the moderators. Thank you. Gaia is all here. And Jenny, we saw a very large blue bean in the woods here in Southern Oregon. We referenced him as the blue man on the water. It was near a river here. Wow. Guy, we're going to get you on for sure. Holy wow. The silver surfer, yes, in the micro realm, yes, was blue. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Loretta says, I want to see the big guy. Hey, listen, I mean, so would I. I mean, and isn't it odd that the finger pointing down, I was
looking at that blue.
It was not in the script, I'm telling you. Well, as y'all know, I have Jenny on, and Jenny, I tell you, I've watched so many of your readings, and I've gotten emails, and excuse me, and then Lucky Stone is writing, blue doesn't exist for some cultures until they are told about it.
That's another thing, Lucky. That's another thing I got into.
These same cultures see many types of green. It's a weird conversation and confuses me.
Lucky, you're so right, because even in Japan, I think it is, and I've got too many notes to flick through to find the other places, but there's no real depiction of blue in the wordage, in the wording. There's no word for blue. They don't recognize it. So even Japan doesn't have, and there's another place I wrote down too, doesn't have a word for blue. It's a green. It's another way of saying green. So they don't actually know if they see blue as in it. It's fascinating because their William is color different, I say, very color different. And there's a lot of color difference blindness in my family on the male side, and I realize it's astonishing as to what the eye perceives, the brain does believe, because we can say it's red, baby. It's not. It's got a totally different color spectrum to me, Theo, and Abby. He sees the world completely differently.
That's very interesting, because the sky is not really blue. No, it's only because it's a weird light shift of the atmosphere, the gases that the light is going through, that gives us the appearance that it's blue. And it's quite interesting because in ancient records going past the Sumerians, but it's mentioned that there was a time here when it wasn't this light, that we actually got our light from Saturn, and it was more of a golden light.
See, I think it is part of this hijack that I talk about, stroke, changeover, even looking at the Atlanteans, that changing way of thinking. I wrote down some of that for tonight from Steiner, Adolf Steiner, and his works
I have his whole collection. Thank you, David Barry. He sent it to me years ago on PD. If you'd like it, I'll send you the zip file.
I'd love that. Yeah, because I find him very really intriguing. Actually, I like him. But from there, they even having a change in his mindset of just with the way of thinking from a more collective psychic consciousness to a more analytical, mathematical mindset, but only a few in his mind changed that way in the Atlantean culture, and they very quickly took over the others that were still thinking amongst this psychic connective consciousness, one for all and all for one kind of energy. And then it was that dissolved the previously known Atlantean culture, which is when he dates back, and I'd love his book to dig in deeper to this as to how he got around to thinking this, but I've written it here. It's when he links back to historically when in India and the pharaohs of Egypt came into being, this god and guru worship that didn't exist before. And even that shows just another slant. Maybe I need to dig into it deeper to find how I relate to that. But just a change in perception, all of a sudden changes the spectrum and consciousness of a world for a long time.
What we are perceiving today has been programmed into us. I mean, we know that the Earth at one time was not even in the solar system. We perceive, we've been told, and thus we manifest. And kind of what I was looking for when we were talking about having you on is the fact that I believe naturally we are gifted with what we would call six senses. And I think those six senses actually go to 12. And one of the things that is immediately drained out of us is trusting ourselves, the intuition. It's a gift from the creators, the original thought. That's why E.T. is so interested in Homo sapiens. We have this, and it comes from our ancient ancestors. They had the same ability. In fact, I contend that when we think about Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, Denison, that then they were just like us. They are us, but they were able to use telepathic communication. They didn't need to speak. And thus the world was not contaminated by what I call the curse of man's spells.
I think so, the same. I mean, even, I love parts of the Viking culture, and I affiliate with a lot of some of the ways of thinking about nature and whatnot. But a lot of my Viking friends get upset with me when I say, no, I don't dedicate my life to the gods. They wouldn't want me to. You are judging the gods of the Viking by the very books that they've read, that were all written by the Christians that took over the Vikings and demonized them. Not that they weren't doing a lot wrong too, but demonized them to a great extent and fixed and fossilated their gods just like the Christian God, It's that depiction. But if you look deeper into the Viking culture, they were still of the set of they had reverence for the elementals around them more, and the beings around them, the rocks, the rivers, all of these spirits that were there, and a relationship with what they say were the gods, but it was more of an exchange. It wasn't a worship, because and so it's been twisted and turned at every point, a little bit tighter, a little bit tighter, a little bit more fixed, a little bit more fixed.
We are, I tell you, if you listen tonight on the Steiger Perspective, artistfirst.com, 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Gina, I think it'd be like 4 or 5 a.m. for you, but always can listen on demand. But
I do.
So get this, in California, they are about to institute a curriculum. And ladies and gentlemen, I have the website. I can give it to you because this is going to blow all of our minds. We are in a time where everything is changing. So, Jenny, they are proposing that this was initially higher education. Now they're bringing it down to first and secondary levels of education. That means someone Theodore's age at 5 or 6 will be indoctrinated this. And what this curriculum does is that it teaches, in one aspect, actual history. When you're talking about the Christian God, and the thing that when the Crusaders came through, and back in the Spanish conquest, is that they would always take the holy men, the sacred scriptures of the occult, bury them, and kill the shaman, and then they would replace their deity with their deity. So get this, this curriculum will begin to teach children how to invoke the ancient Aztec god of human sacrifice and cannibalism. They teach them how to chant, and they teach them the words to invoke the demon in. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in a very different day and age. And listen tonight, I will read it to you word for word what the curriculum is. And when I read it, some call me a wizard, some call me an asshole, but I immediately, my sixth senses, my intuition began to kick in red alert, because what we're doing is that now you have potentially 6 million creative minds about to quote. Yes, think about this.
Because their imagination is free. Theodore can manifest, William can manifest like that.
And then you're going to have, go ahead, hon.
Like that. They can put the thought and they can work it out in their mind and wish on it so much. They've got me buying it before I even think, you little sucker, you manifested that. And you got it real quick out of me. They've got this freedom, so if they're molding and focus, so if people want to deny that these beings, I'll say, are harvesting energy and are willing to do it to the most innocent of us. If people want to deny that now, they cannot deny that. And what worries me more is they're so bold as to come out with this now.
Oh, the orbs are really, as we're talking, I just saw
I'm getting fired up.
Out, man. Like, what the heck,
angers me. This angers me because
it angers me because I know what they're doing here. This is dangerous philosophy, and they're teaching it. And so you in California, y'all need to be calling your state legislators. I will have the link of those who want to see the article, but you read the curriculum, and they just not. And here's the thing that blew me away. Well, I'll tell you what, Jenny, I wasn't planning on doing this, but give me 1 second. Here it is. I'm going to pull it up for everyone so you all can see what I'd be talking about. See, I fact check myself now.
He got receipts.
I give it 2 swirls and how are you doing? Now, here it is. Revenge of the Gods. Next week, California Department of Education will vote on a new statewide ethnic studies curriculum that advocates the decolonization of American society and elevates the Aztec religious symbolism, all in the service of in this case, a left-wing political ideology. And what I'm trying to get down to is what this cat here is doing. I'm not going to get into the controversial part, but I want to show you. Here it is. This religious concept is fleshed out in the model curriculum's official ethnic studies community chant. When you start chanting, you start invoking. The curriculum recommends that teachers lead their students in a series of indigenous songs, chants, and affirmations. What the freak? Including the In-Lak-Ak affirmation, which appeals directly to the Aztec gods. Students first clap, chant to the god Tizcatlipoca, whom the Aztecs traditionally worshipped with human sacrifice and cannibalism, asking him for the powers to be warriors for social justice. Next, the students chant to the gods Quasimodo, Hunt Zalapikat, I think Pokadik, I can't get that name, Expetitok, seeking, are you ready for this? Healing etymologies. What the freak? And revolutionary spirit. Huts, in particularly, is the Aztec deity of war and inspired hundreds of thousands of human sacrifices during the Aztec rule. Finally, the chant comes to a climax with a request for liberation, transformation, and decolonization, after which the students shout Pache Bay, Pache Hey, in the pursuit of ultimate critical consciousness.
This is so dangerous. And those children.
I mean, if I hadn't read it, I mean, so I'm sorry stepping on you, Jenny, but
No,
it infuriates me beyond my ability to contain myself.
Parents there need to grow balls and remove those children from those schools immediately.
I mean,
if it
well, they're
takes
not open, I bet.
a mass walkout, well, that's even better, while they're not going to feel the impact any more than they already are. Write the letters to say my child will not be coming back till this is taken off the curriculum, and try and get it off that curriculum before they even ever go back. But
problem is, though, Jenny, they're going to institute this unless there is a mass statewide protest. And the minute they do that, there is a portal opened up that there's no human alive that I think could close it.
No.
Because we don't know how to close it. Yeah.
And no, we haven't. That's what I was just about to say. We've got no teaching over these beings. We've got no teaching. And in the spiritual community, you can say, you can put a cape around, you can protect, you can do all of that. I can protect people, you can protect people, they can protect themselves. We know that. But not against this. People can't be naive. We haven't, our spirit, our etherical self may not even have ever been into contact with this. So we have no training on it. We have no taken away from the shock value. We have no, and to do it with such precious little minds that have got no protection at home. You think these children that are exposed to this, and I bind it up when I say that, but you think these children that could be exposed to this, if people don't do enough to stop it, aren't going to get very terrorized.
I don't think they understand, Jenny, what really the implications here. And this is my problem. Wow. I'm reading this in the chat room. Folks, homeschooling. All right. So y'all you've done is just put your head in the sand. Because meanwhile, in the real world, they're opening up ancient portals and bringing ancient beings in that modern man there's no one alive that I know of who has been able to actually articulate or encounter these super beings. That's all I'm going to say. And the problem is, once they start chanting, once they start the invocations,
those codes go across the ether. Those codes go across the ether.
It's going to enter into this realm. It's like a freaking super highway.
I can see not runes, but ancient rune-like type of cuneiform tablet type lettering, literally flying like DNA strands as soon as, and just hitting a door, and it'll fill up real quick. All of the right points in code, all of it will be perfect because it's a perfect chant, and it'll be open season. And this is something that This is something I would love to find a different way to get across to people of the hidden. We've been so indoctrinated for such a long time. You go from people like Steiner and being an absolute scientist, mathematician, you know, but still knowing that that connects absolutely and completely with the spirit realm. And he gave huge warnings on the fact that people can't be so naive to think that they pray to their God and they're going to be protected going into the spirit realm, chanting in prayer. He didn't say don't go in it, because we're in it all the time simultaneous anyway. He just said you have to get in control of that fear, because there are beings in that spirit realm that will feed off fear. And if you go in with fear, but even if you don't go in at all and say, oh, well, I'll just not go in then, that's not a solution, because there's a part of you in it already anyway. So if you're already doing that fear, you'll find in your physical life, you'll get in that fear still, that anxiety from nowhere. And so it's about letting go of that fear. But at the same time, I would argue that there's been so much space and time and shifting, like you say, of the earth, even location over time. We don't know how much degrees of separation there has been, and it feels like to me there's been many from those beings. So I would argue that even the likes of Steiner and others before him and after him, and me and you, have not come into close contact with these beings. There's too many degrees of separation, or however it would be put mathematically, or any other way that I don't know how to put it. But, you know, it feels like this would be, you know, people want to talk about opening up gates of hell.
It's a realm. Most people, Jenny, don't, and I'll just say from my experience, you know, that when I was deeply in the Christian indoctrination, I had the gifts of seeing. And one of my gifts was, as a seer, I could see into the future. I had a number of very distinct visions. And I have seen this day coming, and what we're what we're people aren't going to be ready for this, and
No.
it's going to it's and you know, no matter, because you know, people think, oh well, that's never going to happen. We have entered into the realm of where we're used to seeing people like us, like you. I can identify you. You may be a good person, you may be a bad person, you may be whatever, but you're a person. We don't understand that the earth at one time was the realm of many, many sentient consciousness. We have come into that point, and then in this realm of space where we are, it's the dark realm. We're going to be very surprised to realize that we are in this dark region of space, and the beings that live here, the earth has been, I think, for the most part, because we've been predominated primarily with one deity that is a blood deity.
Yeah.
Where he comes from and it comes from, there's a lot worse.
Yeah.
And that's what I am contending. And the reason why I was so upset, people, and why we should be very aware of what's going on, whoever let this story out probably is going to have hell to pay, because now here it is on YouTube. It's going to be spread around, and hopefully we can shut this thing down before it starts, because all of us in here, to one degree or another, are a wizard, a witch of some level. Just telling you. I don't know that we have very many sorcerers in here. I don't think we do. They tend to be on more the dark side. But I can tell you, all of us are aware of this. And this is where intuition comes in, because my intuition, as I continue to see, when I read this, I went, we're here. This is mass meditation on a level of creative minds, like you were pointing out with Theodore. And you're taking this energy, because babies, when they become toddlers, when they become children, and they become eventually adolescents, this is a transmutation that's taking place. Mm-hmm. And they're powerful. That's why teenagers have poltergeists many times.
Yeah. Abby did terribly. They do. It's the hormones are flying, the neurons are flying in the physical and in the energetic, in the frequency. It's like you can see the sparks flying off them. If you can see auras, you know, you can see it for better or worse.
You know, if you can
Pumping up
put
the
those
stairs or
glasses on,
dancing.
going,
It's like, ooh, okay,
Woo.
I'm going this way. You go that way. But yeah, they do, and that they a lot of the time are causing it. Abby would walk past something and the bottle would flip off, and a lot of the time she'd be like, oh, "What's that?" And me and a nanny, my mom would have to say, "It's nothing. It was you." And then there was some times where there was things got introduced with that energy because she's strong, and you know, my mom a few times had to come and say, "Out."
The energy in your family, Jennifer, is amazing. I sense it all the time, you know, and your mother, even I can sense her energy here even now. I mean, and your children are no doubt, as I see them, they are truly the spirit seeds of an enlightenment that our species has been deprived of.
Thank you. Yeah,
You know,
they are. They're
they
very
are.
special. And I don't say that lightly or because they're mine, but they are very powerful and special. And
Well, their mother is a powerful, powerful being. I've told you many times as have gone out in those points of in the astral travels, and you know, it's like this office I have here in the astral realm. This office is it's literally it's blinding light because there's so much in here that, as my wife said, many times she can't walk in because
yeah,
the energy is so intense in here, and I know that I'm used to it, but yeah,
you've assimilated to it, and
I can
well,
go
you've
out and
created
give
it.
her a hug or give her a kiss, and she says at times that the energy is so powerful it literally drains her energy.
Yeah, yeah. So you would have to be aware of that to not be. You'd
Yeah,
have to like block yourself off a bit sometimes to.
sometimes I have to.
Yeah, to do that. You do, otherwise
Yeah,
you realize it. I
yeah,
came across a guy who had been in the Masons for a long time, and he was out, and a sorcerer,
yeah, yeah.
and
That's a sorcerer.
into the darker stuff,
Yep.
but with saves of light. But then you look at these beings that might be introduced and you think, well, I'd quite like him on the team, kind of thing, because I
Yeah.
know his lines, I know his limitations, but I know what he can do. I'm a thinking girl, you can come, you know.
Yeah, you're a thinking girl. I ought to give you that.
So I'm thinking ahead here. We can work this. We can work around the other stuff. So yeah, he was into a lot of that, and he was struggled to be around me. We got on very, very well, but he struggled to be around me because he had it. There wasn't many people living quite a secluded life after leaving the Masons. There wasn't many people you would be around that were like him. And at first I thought he was being a bit rude, and I'd called him out on it and said, "You're being very rude." And he'd said, "No, I'm not. I'm struggling to be around." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, it's okay. Then I'll stand a bit further away." And we, fine at that point. But we were like magnets, sometimes pulling together and sometimes pushing apart, and it does happen.
I knew an individual, and she was very much into the dark practices, and she told me one time, she said, "I can't be around you." She said, she said, "The energy that you're putting off," she said, "it's like I'm sitting and there's ants crawling on me." And she said, "I just can't take your polarity."
Yeah,
And I said, "Well,
yeah,
that's how it is sometimes."
yeah. Oh yeah, he and I don't speak now. No
Yeah,
nastiness, no nothing. It was just a
yeah,
case of, yeah, well, I'm
yeah.
not going to change, you're not going to change. We can't do this. And so it was a case of, just like you say, just it is what it is. But there's that understanding there. And one thing I think that you talked about, what we talked about a little in the email, was the openness of that, to be not quite so fixed in what should be a very flowing, very
Mm,
flexible, very bendable spiritual community. and the very expansive and intertwining to because we've gotten to a point of complacency in that there's a lot of knowledge, and there has to come a point where we admit that all of the religions that we see today actually are man-made through times of suffering, times of force, with certain truths and threads that have come through that we can use and we need to. But even in the spiritual community, there's such a taint still coming through in the waves of too much organized religion, as in people in the spiritual community still being afraid of witches or what witches would do, of alchemists. And it's like, well, you might be in the wrong place, you know, because this is what it's about, you know. And then there's the other thing I keep hearing, and it's another video I keep thinking I've got to do, but about this thing I keep hearing in the spiritual community is the chakras being bad implants. Well, we're implanted quite a bit. We've been messed about with quite a bit, but we've had these energy points for quite a long time, and we've proven over and over again that they're there and that they work. And so just like blue light, we can use it to disinfect, we can use it, you know, to do good things, to grow plants inside, we can do things like that with it, or we can lay on the sunbed too long and burn ourselves to a crisp, you know. We can do, it's the intent behind it, isn't it? And we have to be able to see that, yeah, these chakra points, you can go too fast with your kundalini energy and spin yourself right out and be no good, like no good, institutionalized. If you go too far, too fast, if you don't go through those phases, like those transmutational phases of childhood, you go through those phases where you build up your chakras, you learn about them, you learn those points, and then at the end of the day, I've got this thing coming up in my mind where these spiritual people are saying they're bad. Well, no, yeah, they are bad if your intent is not focused, if your intent is not done with wisdom and practice and at a pace, but they're there. So we may as well use them for the great good that they can do. So there's this fear of, and this fixed mentality in the spiritual community that isn't going to wash. And with what you've just read out there, it certainly isn't going to wash if we have to join together to face that.
See, this is the problem I have with seeing, with being able to see in the future. Someone should have been in tune. And listen, I'm including myself in this group. We didn't get anything on this. Now, it came about, and I guess in one way, the story got out. Okay. But it seems like to me that if we could see the dots and we could see the ebbs and flows of what events happen, that's this thought was already out there. We just weren't able to be either tuned into it, or like you said, I think we're so distracted in our own spirituality.
Yeah. And being fixated on that.
Yeah, and then we become no real good to the real world.
No, and plus on I think it's both. What you've just said, I think it's a bit of both, in that there's a lot of deliberate distractions, but too many people. Yeah, and I think they're bringing in a lot of things like this that are actually so much worse and so much bigger. Certain things that we've all picked up on, that actually, you know, what China's doing and everybody knows about, and what the royal family's doing and everybody knows about, is actually an okay distraction compared to what they're getting away with underneath. And they're doing that deliberately, you know, to put something, even if it's terrible, like children.
See, that, I believe we can counter that, and that's like the document I read yesterday, that there's this ability with this group, this tribe, that we've got to start practicing our psychic abilities, because we're going to need to join in the astral realm, because that's where the battle takes place. It's not here. I go down in my basement and I make sure all the lights are out, and I turn the lights out so there is no light coming in. And that's where I practice my jujitsu in the spiritual realm, because I know that there are energies out there and I invite them in for battle. I challenge them to come in and attack me wherever they want.
You're training.
I am training. I've gotten my ass kicked a few times
Me
because
too.
but that taught me a lesson, because it tells me that there are stronger spirit beings over there that much more disciplined in the knowledge that I am training for.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's in the spiritual community. In a lot of places, people would be afraid of you in the very space that you should fit the most. And
Yeah.
that's what will not wash. If they really want this change,
Won't
if they
wash,
really
folks.
want,
Yeah.
it just won't work, because that's exactly what we need. And there needs to be a little bit of a reality syringe plunged into the spiritual community to say it's not all love and light. It's
Well,
not.
I have a theory on the shadow beings, the ones particularly that have been uh, filmed, that where they're always hiding and they're always in dark cloaks. It's because they're human. They're still human, but they got over there, they got off the track somehow, and they found out they got their asses kicked, and they hide.
Mhm.
They have to hide, because there are packs of beings over there that seek out, particularly the fresh meat coming over.
Yeah.
I mean,
Why would they
this
come
is as
out of the
real as it
shadows?
gets.
Yeah. Why would they come out of the shadows? And that's the other thing too, is that even if people haven't aren't taking a hip of notice, and I know that's not here, and don't care about where the direction of the collective goes after they're gone.
Yeah.
Even that you take into account of the fact that you don't, the indoctrination of, if you die and ask, for forgiveness on your deathbed just before you go, having walked and been afraid in your spirituality to delve deep into self and get to know thyself, train.
Yeah,
You're not
folks,
going to
the
go
only
to the other
forgiveness you
side.
need is forgiving yourself. There ain't no one on the
Yeah.
other side that's going to do it
No,
for you.
no, exactly. You're not going to get to the other side and be greeted by, in my eyes, not from anything I've seen, a host of angels and a harp playing and some of those flute things in the background. You're going to get the level that you have worked towards. You're going to move, or like those people in the shadows. They've done certain things in this lifetime, messed up and continued to do so, maybe completely ignored their spirituality and affected other people. And now they're on the other side and they're feeling.
Oh, Jenny, I just got hit with something. So you think about intuition, right? We are so, we doubt ourselves. As I say, if you learn to doubt your doubts, you'll never doubt your doubts again. But here's the point. When we transition over, intuition goes over there as well. And if you've doubted it here, you're going to doubt it over there.
That's what
And
I
you're going to
mean.
get yourself into you can get yourself into a place that it's going to take a long time to get back out.
Yeah, and you hide in the gutters, you
You
hide in the
hide,
shadows,
exactly.
you
And your
hide in the
intuition
shadows.
is saying, do this, but you don't trust your intuition, which means over in the spirit realm, it's just you, baby.
And why maybe a lot of these shadow beings and stuff seem to feed off fear is because maybe that's all they can transmute where they are, because that's all they ever feel is fear. Maybe
Yes.
all they felt here was fear of people getting one up on them. So they were always the oppressor in the
The freaking orbs
relationship.
are just heavy around me, girl. I'm sitting here trying to get in and I'm going, whoop, there goes another one.
But yeah, so they're feeding off what they can transmute. They're feeding off what they can use, that instinct of fear to stay in the shadows, to keep their wits about them, because they haven't earned any training points while they were here.
Ooh,
And so,
bingo. No training
yeah,
point.
no training points. And
Yeah.
so if you're in fear here and you fear to train in the unknown, in the abyss of the unknown, in the unknown of self first, and then expand that out into other various aspects of the knowledge that we've got within us and then around us. If we fail to do that, then you're not going to have it magically on the other side. You're not going to magically get that badge as you've passed through a gate to say, oh, it's all right. You said
Congratulations.
you passed.
You passed. Like what?
Really? So I didn't do anything. But it's even if you've got no ideals or wants to be a part of what we leave for the children in each generation, even if you haven't. And I find it hard to believe, but some don't. Even if you haven't, then let the selfish self of you dictate the fact that you still train and you still expand your knowledge. And
you see, this training would have helped, particularly folks in California. Stop this curriculum. This is wrong. This is not the right type of curriculum. If they're going to be teaching metaphysics, why don't they teach them to transcend in meditation, in peace, in love, instead of calling a demonic god in that's going to, human sacrifices? What the freak is that?
It's ridiculous. There I am teaching Theodore and William how to transmute light, and if they're feeling angry, how to transmute those anger arrows into something powerful. And there's these poor children, well, we just want to, casually want to contact a demon. It's okay, kids.
Hey, go ahead. Just, invite him on to supper,
Chant this, it's like,
right.
What? They should be walking from that school with sage right now. They should be smoke
folks. That's what I'm talking about. It's we laugh, but because laugh is a defense mechanism.
Yeah, what we're going to do, because you could feel like crying.
I remember the first time I actually encountered what I would call a succubus, and the only thing I knew to do was start laughing. I was afraid, but the only thing I did was start laughing, and when I started that laughing.
Yeah, because everything, when you're even in a good, sexy moment, if there's something that makes you giggle, the mood changes, doesn't it? So I could see how that would work, that all of a sudden you're not giving off that sexual energy because you're giggling, just like you would in a physical thing, when somebody knocks their head off something and it's funny, or it breaks the mood.
You're in my head, man. Get out of my head,
It's like, shoot, be gone. I'm not transmuting that energy for you. So laughter is powerful, and it does help us. This is why I think comedians.
Yeah, and that coitus never happened. There was never no consummation.
No, she went.
It's like, get the hell out of here. I'm gone. Bye.
Laughter does not do it.
I'm out of the door. Run, Forrest, run. I'm out of there.
We're going to be so fit by the end of the year. We're going to keep
I mean, when the review comes, then we all have that life review, because it's an exciting part. You get to reread the book.
Yeah.
The difference is that you actually live the book. And so, but those will be those moments when you go, whew, man, I almost got myself into something I couldn't get out of.
Didn't know I was that close.
Just that close.
Yeah.
And this again, and I have no doubt that the intuition, and I don't know whether they say it's your soul. I think it's the true you, because we're all sitting back in this ride. We love these avatars. We love this thing called consciousness. We play with it because consciousness is really cool. It's so malleable. I can make it into this sphere. I can, in fact, let me show you something, Jenny. I pulled something up. So really, it's amazing that we actually So in this description here, these are the 4 dimensions that we live in. And if you can begin to look at this and focus in on your concentration in having energy, thought, even intuition, and malleable into the dimension that we're in, you can really find yourself. This is to me as a map, because in each dimension I can increase and I understand the connecting points. And in number 4, this is the spirit realm, folks. This is where the 4th dimension comes in. And we transcend between those 2 dimensions seamlessly. Folks, not all beings can do that. And we're unaware of this, and we do it all the time. So anyway.
So we need to train on it, because
we're
there anyway. And that's what Steiger said, the fear has got to stop, because we're actually feeding in to the systems that are so harmful in the physical here and in the spiritual, because it affects us even afterwards. That's our inheritance. If we allow ourselves to be affected by the systems that we don't even learn about here. If you think about it, the law system, the political system, most people don't even know the pharmaceutical system. Most people don't even know how they really work, how they really get paid, because a lot of it's in Latin, a lot of it's, and we're not really taught unless you go to certain
No,
schools or know certain people. You're not taught it. You are in the other schools, but not in these schools.
no,
And
there's a
so,
reason for it too.
well, yeah, we're living in sort of, when you put those things on a horse, it doesn't get nervous in traffic, the
Oh yeah, the
blinders.
blinders. Yeah,
We're
yeah.
living on both sides with blinders, and it's not nice sometimes to rip those off, and feel the fear, not be afraid of the fear, even feel into the fear, get to know it, get to be able to juggle with it, and then make it smaller, make it smaller, make it smaller, and to the point where you just swallow that sucker and say,
Oh,
okay,
it's
this is
so
my
interesting you
bravery.
say that, because for me, I literally devour it. And,
Yeah.
because my childhood, I mean, I was in a torture camp, for nearly, well, good 6 years, where the beatings and everything else were a daily occurrence. And so I carried that with me into, as a teenager and into my early adulthood. And it was always a hindrance. And no matter how there was a time when I started getting into the larger entrepreneurial corporate market, where I used to suffer these panic attacks.
Mm.
And anyone who's ever suffered a panic attack, you know how physical and how mental it can become all at the same time. And I remember I was having one of these panic attacks on an airplane. Not the place to be having a panic attack. Now, this was back in the days before we had TSA and what have you. But I determined right there that I said, I have to face this.
Yeah.
And so, that was one of the journeys of the dark night of the soul. And now when I'm confronted with fear, I realize I have two choices. I can either fight it or I can consume it.
You literally changed your neural pathways, your blueprint of what that fear was. Initially, that fear devoured you, and it got more and more to the point where you got smaller, it got bigger and bigger. That's
Ate
when
my lunch.
yeah, that's when panic attacks
That's when they
manifest.
come. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when it goes over a certain amount of time where you try and just not acknowledge it, not feel into it, not dive into it, so that then you are devouring it. And so you turn that around, and that takes such brain power that is trainable for consciousness too, and for intention and for intuition, that to change the blueprint of those neural physical pathways that actually tell the body how to react to the same situation before that used to put you into a panic attack. You have had that strength and intent to be able to say, this is eating my body alive. I'm going to do something if this continues physically that I don't want to do. I'm going to lose too much weight. I'm going to maybe have a heart attack. I'm going to
It's going to
maybe,
kill you.
yeah,
Yeah.
it can kill you. It's going to happen when I'm driving. You make that point of, okay, so I need to change this. And so you did all of that simultaneously. And that is such power and authority over self, and it's so doable for everybody.
Everybody.
Um,
That's why I
but
love public speaking.
yeah,
When
well,
I love it. I mean, I get up there, and I was at a time where I was in the venture capital market and made presentations to a large group of investors. One particular one in Texas had over 3,000. And I got to tell you what, Jenny, I was in another dimension because people said I was actually glowing, and that's the transformation you can make. You
you
know,
do glow. You do glow. I mean, it's not as razzle dazzle as that, but I used to have to do that when I was a stripper. I used to have to say,
exactly, exactly.
you would
Yeah.
every time you would say, oh, I'm so afraid to get up there. There's so many people. Or worse, it was when there wasn't very many people
Oh,
in the
yeah.
bar and you could see the
You can
faces.
hide in
That
the
was
numbers.
the worst. That was the worst. And so you would get to a point where
Oh,
you'd have to say, damn, I'm going to have to just eat this up. And it ended up taking you out there and making it an all but better dance show. Um, I could climb up things with that fear, and so you can do it in any
Well,
situation.
that's why you're such a powerful being, Jenny. I tell you, your wisdom, and I want to have you back on much more regular, because even listening to you, you have a sage wisdom about yourself that, for myself as a wisdom seeker, I immediately can see that. And, that's why when you use the tarot, it's amazing, because I've watched you enough now to know that I can see when you're actually picking up on the individual of the card itself, but then all of a sudden you get this higher sense and you inject it into, and I read one email where the person said you literally saved their life.
Oh, that's
you know
amazing.
so when I read that kind of stuff, I'm going, I ain't gonna tell her, she's gonna start patting herself in the back. No, but really, you it's like, oh yeah,
No, they saved their own life. They just listened.
well, the thing
It's their
is,
messages.
the energy and the Akashic record that you tap into regularly is what really impresses me. It really does.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah, sometimes it's very little to do with the traditional meaning of the card. When things zap in, it's just a tool.
Yeah.
It's like a projector. Sometimes it's like it sets off a projector in the brain to say, that's what that connects to. And you have to get brave with that art, to get brave with that, to say things that seem so obscure sometimes to people. And I'm like, I don't know why that's coming in. And I've had a few things of where you get kicked up the backside to say, I told you should have said it, a few
Yeah,
days
but you've
later.
got a boldness about you that, and the fact that when you're standing with no clothes on in front of a lot of people, let me tell you, you best have confidence in yourself. If you don't, it's going to be a long, long night.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
okay. I did okay. I wasn't very good as
Well, no, because that's not your natural calling. You
no,
have been
as a pole
designed to
dancer.
bring an oracle of wisdom. I see you in many. This is what I see in this group, is that there is such talent like yours,
Yeah, they're
that
still amazing
this
people.
group needs to take more advantage of it. If you're not subscribed to Jenny, I left all of her contact information. Do. And it's not that, Jenny, you're, any better than, any other tarot card reader. No, it's just that we all have our individual giftings, and you have one, my dear. When the person suggested that I have you on the first time, I didn't know who you were, but something immediately struck me that says you need to pay attention to this. And that intuition has proven to be spot on.
Thank you so much. Well, I call you the professor. I call you the professor to Susie, and because you give such knowledge, and you're not afraid, and that's the thing that I don't bring up that story. One, it's to make people laugh, but two, I wasn't very good as a pole dancer, because as a dancer, I rocked it. But as a stripper dancer, I mean, but as a pole dancer, where you had to talk to people, and I didn't make very much money, because
I bet you
my
didn't.
intuitive side would talk to these people, and most of them were broken. So I would
Yes.
get wrong all the time for talking too much and not, getting the dances, to the point
It's like,
where
hey,
that
lady,
that
this is not the bench, where
it
you got
ended
you.
up like therapy, therapy on
Yes.
the couch. And so in the end, I had to say, yeah, this isn't working out at all, Jenny. You've gone off your path. You've done, you've put your fingers up to Christianity enough now. Now you can come back. You've proved a point, to the Christian family. It's okay.
We all got to do sometimes the exits,
But you do, yeah, and you walk amongst people, and with your gifts, and this room is full of them. You walk in
Yes.
the strangest of places, whether it's a stripper club, or whether it's the shopping market, or whether it's the streets, or whether it's here. You walk in the strangest of places, and there's a reason throughout all of the god and goddess stories. There's like the Odin character, who was said to, he walked amongst the outcasts, and he would be
Yes.
dressed in rags, so nobody suspected. he would speak, and you know, that's what Abby does. I do the same. We can't walk past a homeless person, and you know, without talking and without, you know, being with them, saying something, saying, you're known, we see you, you know, and things like that. That really needs to be amped up in the
Yes, it
spiritual
does.
community. There's a responsibility with your gifts.
My vision for this community, this soul tribe, is that we individually and collectively, we've done the work, the hard work, the healing amongst ourselves, collectively, individually. And when we reach to that point where we can get past of our biases and our little idiosyncrasies, that the day is coming, Jenny, where it's going to start and we're going to be able to manifest, I think, so rapidly because we've done the healing work. And now it's time to do the building.
Yeah.
And building is always fun.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
if that's
love
you.
Lego. I love Lego.
See, I like Legos too. Back in the days, I didn't have Legos. We had erector sets and, you know, the Tinker toys. But nevertheless, you know, when I got that erector set, yeah, you know, I was building skyscrapers, baby.
Wow, I can imagine. You'd be like William. He's like the architect with Lego. But yes,
Yeah,
seriousness as well as fun is serious. Have serious fun doing it, but seriousness is needed. If you look at all of these systems that have held people in place and allowed for such abuses and such atrocities, and needless. To
needless.
say that they're needed because of these big stories around them, and you know, these things that have to happen. No, they're needless.
Yeah,
I just think that if you look at them, you learn something. You know, people come into your life, and even if it's the worst person coming into your life, the worst narcissist, my worst narcissist experience, you know, taught me so much and actually got me back to saying, Jenny, you know, you need to tell people your visions again. You needed it. But he took me through a dark night of the soul like no other. Now, I'm thankful for that because I don't know how long I would have been wandering. You know, now it's not to say that I'm thankful that it happened, but I'm thankful that I was good enough to myself to get the lessons out of it, at least, to not walk away with nothing.
yeah.
And this is where you can take from these systems that are built, you can look at them without this fossilized, fixed version of spirituality and say, they know how to build. They know how to look at chaos and find the avenues to sneak in and build something that is good for them and good to sustain them. We have the capability of doing that if we're brave enough to be serious about it and act on our intuition and follow the intention of our intuition, and you know, be in reverence to self about it, be serious about it, be of service to self and others about it, because they are serious about it. That's how they've built this, that's how they've created this, and they're not responsible. They've burnt out their chakra systems now, in my opinion, and now we have psychopaths in charge of these gates and the money that would get those kinds of things passed in those schools. So now we have to take over. It's a responsibility.
Well, I'm going to start doing battle. You see, folks, this is why I have such respect for Jennifer. Jennifer, you have a wisdom that is far beyond your physical years. And I dig it, girl. And I know a lot of people do as well. I didn't mean to hold you over. I know you have kids and things to do there. So, um, anyway, y'all subscribe. Listen, she should be well into the thousands by now. And listen, every one of you that are a part of this fantastic ride, your gifts are just as well. And I love having you on if you're not camera shy. I mean, that's why I look at it. And Jenny, you're going to be on tomorrow with Nina, the Mystic. I think she has a show going on. Don't know if it's today, but and with Steve Zerloff. So always love having you on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I look forward to it. I love it here. I love the people here, and I adore you. I think you're just fantastic.
Well, I just
Cool
keep the
beans.
conversation lively. It's like, there he goes again. Stay with me, Jenny. Folks, thank you all. Thank you for hitting the like button, and even the one who didn't. We love you anyway. It's just that you just hit the wrong side. Just go back and hit the other side. And are you going to be on later on tonight?
I don't know. I'm going to see how I go. Theodore sounds like he's gone to sleep, which is a small miracle in itself. So I might do.
Well, we do miracles here all the time.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to be with Wayne. You have to go to sleep. Here's the story. This has got to be it, Theodore. So yeah, he's listened. Or he's just very strategically playing quietly till I go up and see.
Theodore, you're my buddy, man. You're a cool dude.
He is a little dude. He's so cool.
I have never seen William, so
William is so camera shy, and he's so intelligent, and he's so witty. He'd have you in stitches. But he loves people. Once he gets to know people, I keep hearing he's called Caboose online, like the train Caboose train.
Yes.
I said, what's a caboose? He said, it's off a train, stupid. And I said, well, I didn't know what a caboose was. So
Mom,
I said,
seriously?
why did you choose that? He said, it's obscure. And I was like, okay. So he's pretty awesome. And so he
William,
gets in.
high five, dude. And we'll get you on. I love your energy. All right, everybody. We love you. Jenny, stay with me, and tune in tonight to the Steiger perspective. It's the political side of my personality. Yes, I have many, and we all do. And, this is the nice guy. This is the weird guy. And, but anyway, so